Hello and welcome to the Thursday, May 29th, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich, and this episode brought to you by the SANS.edu graduate certificate program in cloud security is recorded as usual in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, in diaries today, we got another one from one of our undergraduate students. Jennifer Wilson did a little experiment demonstrating how you can use large language models like ChatGPT in order to assist you in better understanding various artifacts that you may recover from a honeypot. Now, in this particular case, well, it was a little bit an oddly named file that sort of triggered the investigation here. It had this sort of hex name, but there was a lowercase s at the end as well, which made it kind of, appear that it's not just sort of a simple random hex encoded string. And after going forth and back here a little bit with ChatGPT, Jennifer was able to figure out that this particular file name is associated with a Telegram desktop. And well, where you basically sort of have various encryption keys and such stored. So certainly an interesting finding, something that wasn't quite as easy and straightforward to find with a simple search. The help from the ChatGPT assistant here certainly helped, but also demonstrates how a lot of this is about asking the right questions, not accepting the first answer you're getting necessarily as true, and sort of that dialogue really where you have a skilled analyst use ChatGPT in order to figure out what this particular string here was really all about. And Sophos published a blog post about attacks that they have observed from ransomware that took advantage of unpatched instances of SimpleHelp. SimpleHelp is a tool that's often being used by managed service providers. So what the attacker does here, and that's sort of, I think, the real dangerous pattern that we have seen a couple times before, that they're not attacking the victim company directly, but they're attacking the managed service provider, the company that actually manages the victim's network. And then, of course, they are the ransomware provider is now becoming the manager of the network and has full access and is then able to launch the ransomware. This is a very difficult thing for the victims here because they rely, of course, on a managed service provider. And the reason they usually hire a managed service provider is that they don't have the internal resources, like smaller companies, to adequately manage the network. So there isn't also a resource to really verify that the managed service provider is doing the right thing. Maybe we need sort of a managed service provider, management provider, or something like this to keep an eye on them. But it should really be up to the MSP in order to make sure the tools they're using, like SimpleHelp, are properly patched. The vulnerabilities being exploited here, Sophos lists a few of them, have been patched since January, so not super fresh, but still fresh enough for a complex system like SimpleHelp. Well, the patches may not have been applied yet. Well, and then we have another vulnerability disclosure from OneKey. This time it's in Everetz equipment. I guess that's how you pronounce that company name. It's an unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability, very easy to exploit. If you're not familiar with Everetz, their equipment is predominantly used in the broadcasting world. They basically make equipment that allows you to send video signals and the like from professional cameras over networks. And these kind of network switches, gateways, that's what's affected here by this vulnerability. OneKey put together this little sort of card summarizing what's exactly vulnerable here. And yes, they're assigning it a CVSS score of 9.3. The only sort of limitations here is that, yes, you are running code as the web server, and the web server isn't running root. But, well, that's really the only sort of thing that doesn't make that a complete 10. Sadly, Everetz has not responded to OneKey's disclosure. They said they reached out to them 90 days ago, but haven't heard back from them. So this is, as of now, an unpatched vulnerability. Well, what's the vulnerability all about? It's yet again one of these. Well, let's just take a user input and pass it to execution command here, exec. So very straightforward, simple OS command injection vulnerability, very easy to exploit. They also do provide a little sample exploit string here, but once you see that line, it shouldn't really be too hard to figure out, well, how an exploit is working. So given that there is no patch available, if you run into any equipment like this, well, please make sure that it's not exposed to the internet, and maybe reach out to Everetz if they have any help for you. Well, and that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for leaving good reviews on your favorite podcast platform, and of course, recommending this podcast to your friends. And talk to you again tomorrow.